I had no idea there were so many different types.
Oh, these decorative boxes were very popular in the 18th and 19th centuries, Dr. Roberts.
Are those real diamonds, do you think?
Oh, yes, they're real. They're probably flower shirt or high class diamonds like that.
Sí, 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 pakita lang.
Let's continue with the game of bridge.
I have no clue. I don't think we heard it out of school like our host.
Have you talked to someone who has fallen asleep? Mrs. Oliver?
My gamer saw the way the ISU in for host seems to be my gamer saw the way the ISU in for even for host seems to be occupied.
Oh, yes, I've not seen you many times. And dear Miss Norma, deep in a game, are we?
You can get it from my bed.
I just finished a new book, and it's such a relief. That I had killed off Sven Anderson, but he escaped at the last minute.
And our lady's name is Primary Mrs. Oliver.
You don't want to kill off Sven after he's made you famous.
He's a real person, Mrs. Oliver. I will believe him that will come down Scotland Yard and Scottish.
Are you capable of committing murder, Ms. Oliver?
There isn't a person living who wouldn't commit murder under certain circumstances.
Superintendent George Battle.
That's a Superintendent Battle of Scotland Yard.
Good evening, everyone. This is Short now.
The Scotland Superintendent of the Adventure House. Adventure House is in
Four clubs. Double.
Four clubs.
Double.
Four clubs.
4 clubs.
Four clubs.
Double.
No bid.
No bid.
No bid.
No bid.
Mrs. Shore, Mrs. Shore.
What is it?
I'm afraid the plan is dead.
Are you sure, man? Come on now, how would you know if he's dead? It could be a heart attack. I mean, we don't have any mistake.
I haven't made this as a doctor, and nobody's going to judge him until after the divisional surgeon has examined him. Is that clear? I don't need a professional opinion to tell you that Rose is murdered.
I think I want to go home. Of course, and I will.
I'm afraid no one can
See here, Battle.
I'm not sure who else is suggesting we are all suspects. Is that so?
No one can be discounted. I'm sorry. We are all under suspicion. We all have to have Mrs. Shore.
But only what I look could have done it.
That.
Miss Dawes, Miss Meredith, this is Sergeant O'Connor who will be helping you with tonight's case.
You both knew it disease well, didn't you? We met overseas on a trip to Switzerland. I was hoping to matchmake Anne and Mr. Short, but it didn't work out in the end. And how do you know each other?
I used to work for Rhonda's aunt, Miss Deering. I was her companion, and before that, I was doing the same work of the Isle of Wight for someone else.
When my aunt died of cancer, I asked for Anne to come and live with me. She's awful fun, and she looks after me on trips.
If you don't mind my commenting, Miss Meredith, you seem to dress and do all the same things as well, a lot of people do. How's that?
Well, I don't charge her rent. She's my companion now. It's alright, Anne.
Both my parents are dead, but I have a lot of friends to support me, and I've worked in 3 different jobs since graduation.
Sweet, you only mentioned 2 to us.
Well, no.
I thought Anne came straight from the Isles of Wight to the job with your aunt, Miss Stealing?
Well, no, not exactly. She had another job, only for 3 weeks though.
Did she think so short time didn't count? And if your aunt was offering her a better job?
Oh, it wasn't that.
Oh?
Oh no, the person she was with, Mrs. Benson, died.
What did she die of?
She was poisoned. It was horrible for everyone. She died in agony.
How was she poisoned?
She drank some hat paint. She mistook it for medicine. It was all her own fault. She asked Anne to paint an old garden hat black. When she finished, she unfortunately broke the neck of the bottle. Mrs. Benson told her to pour the paint into an old syrup. a fixed bottle. The servants all heard her saying it. Then somehow the two bottles got mixed up, and well, I've told you what happened. I think Anne feels partly responsible.
Yes.
I think that all this has set her off. She felt responsible then. Of course, it was an accident.
It was Miss Meredith. It was Anne. I knew she was sorry when Mr. Shore didn't propose last summer.
Don't gossip, Doris. Doris, leave this to the professionals.
I just heard her flatmate and her best friend Dodd about the killing. Dodd her in front and for killing one of her companions.
My experience is the police are like a dog with a bone. If they don't believe that someone has something to hide, I don't wish to be dog or bone.
Oh, people will always believe what they want to. Reminds me of all the wagging tongues at the surgery. Suspicious circumstances concerning a patient's death. Nonsense turning into truth.
Sorry, Mrs. Brooks, I don't quite follow.
People gossiping about situations they know nothing about.
Humanity has a lot to answer for, doesn't it?
Lots of old ladies get that particular bee in their bonnet, convinced the doctor's poisoning them. Miss Graves had 3 different doctors before coming to us, and Dr. Roberts was delighted when she moved off to Dr. Steele. After him, she died. Used to bottle her own fruit, and you know how dangerous that can be, Major.
I'm afraid my adventures are like more active, Mrs. Brooks.
Well, she brought her ailments and her gossip with her, didn't she, dear?
What's that, dear?
Your fiancé was just letting us know how many patients you have been accused of killing.
What?
No.
My dear fellow, relax. I was just trying to.
We actually know who did it anyway. So this kind of tomfoolery is a waste of everyone's time.
This is me, Dr. Roberts. Stop playing judge, jury, prosecution, and calm down.
Well, if we have to spend the entire evening here, perhaps you ladies can help me out with an outstanding task, and it might just cheer us all up. Every Christmas, I send my nieces silk stockings. I ran Harvey and Nicole's this morning. They sent around this basketful.
Goodness, how many pairs are there?
I have no idea.
So you must choose 8 and send the rest back?
Won't y'all help me make this selection?
These are real silk.
I like these 2. They're all gorgeous.
These ones certainly.
I like these ones.
You've got your 8 pairs now. That was a great move, Clifton. Thank you, Miss Oliver.
Ladies and gentlemen, the police have requested we remain in the house after dinner. May your appetites not be spoiled. We are serving a buffet style in the dining room.
Now please, everyone. The superintendent and the sergeant have promised to release us, but I can't go breaking the law and letting you all out.
You want to go home?
It isn't breaking the law.
I do apologize, everyone. If you can all give me your attention that I can.
I did it. It was me.
I have a long and fraught history with Mr. Shore, and the opportunity arose when we started to play bridge. Mr. Shore was asleep, being rude and inconsiderate as usual. I strode across to the fireplace and took the slim dagger from his collection. A quick look at the others engrossed in the game, and I knew it was now or never. I stabbed him. I did it and mocked conversation with him as my cover. Everyone else in the room has their whole lives ahead of them. And I couldn't let... Oh,
Miss Lormer.
Please. Everything begins and ends with the scorecards. Each of these provides insight into your characters.
Mrs. Lorimer, a brilliant, bright bridge player. Cool, calculated, quick, clean, decisive, but only because you planned every move you were going to make well in advance. I would have accepted your murder, but you insist you killed Mr. Shore in a spur of the moment. I'm afraid your cards show you to be the opposite of the kind of person who will kill in this way. Not least of all, Mr. Shore was not killed by his collector's item dagger.
Miss look at our players. The major, a man with any amount of nerve, accustomed to making quick decisions. You're not just at home when you're facing danger. You're actually enjoying it. And when we look at how you place your cards on the table, these characteristics come into play as well. Yes, you could have killed our host, or you would have faced up to him, confronted him. And then there's Anne Meredith, playing a very strange hand, protected by Miss Lorimer, set up by Miss Oliver, and dominated by flatmate Rhonda.
Her scorecard shows her to be timid, reticent bridge player, unwilling to take risks. But if she was afraid, well, put it this way. When a dog corners a cat, the cat cowers, shaking with fear. But if there's a way out, it will defend itself. Suddenly pounce, and quite often win. Her card also shows her to be a very economical young lady. She actually turned it over and used the back again. A sign of poverty? Or at least someone not used to having a great deal of money to spare. And yet you dress so well, Miss Anne. Then we come to the card hiding up your sleeve. I'm referring to your 3 weeks of work with Mrs. Benson, whose death was thought to be an accident. Well, she was there for only 3 weeks, so what possible motive could she have for murdering Mrs. Benson? I draw your attention to my analogy of the cornered cat. What would frighten her so much that she would be forced to strike? I believe Mrs. Benson caught her stealing and threatened her with the police. Mrs. Dawes and Mrs. Oliver both made sure we knew.
Well, thank you for putting us in the picture. If that's how we'll be on our way.
Oh, it was if you wanted to make a doctor. I went through my trump card and help myself.
I don't know.
Oh, you do? You actually does it. Sit down, doctor. I can't prove you murdered Mr. Shore, but I know someone who can help. Mr. Stevens, is there anyone who's really recognized?
Yes. And
When did you last see him and under what circumstances?
I've been hired at various manors around the country as superintendent. The first occurrence was Mrs. Graves of Graves' house. She received poor treatment from her local doctor and boldly told the whole village, to which the doctor chose to retaliate, always with her fruit boiling after a most out-of-the-blue home visit. From the doctor, she was suddenly found dead, while the surgery claimed she had moved on to another practice. The second instant, I was cleaning the windows in Kent, and the lady of the house was in bed asleep. Then this fellow comes in with the maid, who dashes straight out of the room. The lady starts to wake up, and this gentleman gives her an injection, and she goes out like a light again. And now tonight, as I was cleaning up before dinner, I noticed traces of powder-like substance in Mr. Shore's decorative boxes. Now Doris assures me that Mr. Shore has always kept his boxes empty, but Dr. Roberts arrived early this afternoon, and stated that he and Mr. Shore tried them for the real purpose.
We've been looking for you for some time, Dr. Roberts. I'm afraid this time you have been dealt a very poor hand. You might as well put all your cards on the table.
I quite see your point, Miss Ross, but the law can be heard, you know. We have to wait for the solicitors to reply to our letter. Come in, Turnbull. Come, no, it would be most advisable for you to take these steps yourself. Yes, we will keep you informed. Oh, I apologize.
I'm sorry for listening in, but I thought you had invited me in.
No, not at all. I must apologize. A typical client. Well, how do you do this?
Miss Crow, Miss Carla Crow, I have a 3 p.m. appointment with Miss Fogg.
I am Miss Fogg.
But you're young. right then, let's get down to it. My name may legally be Lemarchant, but by adoption I was born Caroline Crail. Caroline was my mother's name too. My father was Amias Crail. 16 years ago, my mother stood her trial for poisoning my father. They found her guilty. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, those are the facts.
I only learned them 6 months ago when I came of age. I don't think anyone wanted me to know. My aunt and uncle brought me up believing my parents were killed in an accident when I was 5. But my mother left a letter for me to be given to me when I was 21, so they had to tell me all about it.
That must have been a bad shock to learn.
Finding out that my father was murdered and that my mother did it,
There were accentuating circumstances, you know.
I need facts, Miss Fogg. You see, I'm engaged, or I was engaged, to be married. And you're...
I see. And your fiance found out about this and reacted unfavorably? This Mr. Jeff?
You'll see him. He's coming to call for me, if you don't mind. I'm wasting time. I didn't come to consult you about my love life. I've got to find out the truth, you see.
I told you just now that there were accentuating circumstances. Your mother was found guilty, but the jury made a strong recommendation to mercy. Her sentence was commuted to imprisonment, and she died in prison 3 years later.
In her letter, my mother wrote that she wanted me to know definitely that she was innocent. Do you believe it?
Now, Carla, let me explain. Your mother loved your father desperately, but he gave her a raw deal. He brought his mistress into the house, subjecting your mother to humiliation and insult. Miss Krell endured more than any woman could have expected to endure. He drove her too far. The means were to hand. Try to understand and forgive.
Miss Fogg, I believe my mother's innocence. Why else would she have written it to me?
Miss Krell, please, you were a child at the time. Your mother wants you to remember her well. It's understandable. If you'd seen your mother standing in the witness box, well, she couldn't even say I did not do it without stampering. The whole room fell for her. But also, I knew there was no doubt of her guilt. She was a sweet, gentle lady, but she'd been pushed too far. Don't blame your mother, Miss Krell. Even the gentlest lady can be pushed too far.
With all due respect, Miss Fogg, I owe it to my mother to secure her innocence in the eyes of the law, and I want you to help me.
Miss Krell, you want the law? Then take the facts. Aside from your mother and father, there were 4 people in the house that day. There were the Blakes, Philip, and Meredith. She being one of your father's closest friends. There was a girl of 14, your mother's half-sister, Angela Warren, and her governess, Miss something or other. But there was Elsa Greer, your father's mistress, and there wasn't a least suspicion against any of them. The defense's claim for suicide was found weak and unfounded.
Well then, I'm going to see all of them, and I want you to make appointments for me and find out where they all are.
Miss Krell, I am a solicitor, not an inquiry agent. What can these people remember after 16 years that did not come on trial?
Something, perhaps? Something that they never thought of at the time? Something that wouldn't come out in court? It'll be like patchwork. A little bit of this and a little bit of that.
This is wishful thinking you only give.
Mother was innocent. I gather by your response that you will not be helping me.
Get me Kelway, Blake, and Leverson, will you? I want to speak with Blake personally.
Yeah, I must have been.
Well, I didn't mean to be rude. It's just it seems incredible that the girl we knew should have grown up to a young lady. Do you remember your father?
Not very clearly.
You should. Nice cradle. That's what you forgot. What was it about? This lawyer. She wasn't very clear on why you wanted to see me, but I got it. But I thought it wasn't just something that you said to follow. Father's old friend.
You know, Miss Blake, when I came in just now, you were startled. You said,
left her with a pair of scissors, gasping business. It seems your mother was an injured innocent, but that isn't so. So was your father's side noticed too. That was no good. They were always fighting. Their marriage would have been one long over hell if it hadn't been the escape his painting gave him.
That's why he met Elsa, isn't it? He was paying her?
Yes, for showing the girl in the yellow shirt. That's what he was gonna call the word. One of the best things he ever did. He met her son Chelsea's party. Told everyone he met was a marvelous girl, different from any person before. Out of all his affairs, this one was different. Miles actually brought Elsa to the house, obsessively because he was painting her. But Elsa hated the pretense. Since she was so wildly in love with him, she wanted to have it out with Caroline then and there.
How painful for my mother.
Quite, she didn't really know what she was doing. There was a terrific scene. Your mother was overwrought, and she actually had an idea of doing away with herself. In the morning, things must have looked better because the next thing we know, we found Amaya's dead beside his painting with an empty glass beer. My dear, going over all this is clearly painful for you. You're young and engaged to be married. Better to let Cruz rest, don't you think? Well, you know what? The more I think about it, it's possible that Amy did commit suicide. He may have been more resourceful than we know.
It's a nice thought. Oh, I do remember you. I didn't think I did. You looked after me?
No, you weren't my responsibility. I was in charge of Angela. That's you there, and that's Angela there.
And what was Angela like?
One of the most interesting and most undisciplined pupils I have ever met. Her books on rock paintings around the world have earned her a fabulous reputation. First class mind.
Miss Williams, you know why I've come?
Roughly, yes, you learned the facts about the tragedy that ended your father's life, and you want further information. It's perfectly natural. Only once you understand will you be able to forget.
Will you tell me everything?
Of course, my dear, everything I know. Where to begin? I always felt sorry for your mother. She and your father quarreled a great deal, and he was always in the wrong. Your mother dealt with all his misgivings graciously, until Elsa came along. It was clear that Mr. Krill was infatuated with her, but to bring her to the house, the girl's manner became increasingly insolent, and she finally came out into the open with some outrageous remarks about what she would do with the house when she was mistress. She said it in front of everyone, including Caroline.
No.
Yes. Mr. Crow came in and his wife asked him outright if it was true that he planned to marry Elsa. And he stood, just stood, looking like a naughty schoolboy. My blood boiled. I could have killed him. And your mother just went out of the room.
Do you think she did it?
I know she did it.
But you...
Oh, she has all my sympathies, my dear.
She wrote to me of her innocence in her letter to me.
Oh, she shouldn't have done that. It's such a solemn moment. She should not.
It could be the truth.
Carla, I am positive of this. Of all the people connected with the case, I alone can be sure that Caroline Curl was guilty. Something I even withheld from the police because I didn't want anything truly awful to happen to your mother. I saw her wipe the beer bottle clean. I saw it with my own eyes, my dear.
I'm awfully sorry I couldn't have been more help. But I was so young, you see, not much older than you at the time, and Caroline wanted to protect me from the whole situation. I was sent to boarding school earlier than expected, and I couldn't even visit her in prison. I think she always wanted to protect me because of the incident when we were young. She felt guilty. It was just two young siblings playing the fool. Nothing serious.
I suppose I got to get boys.
Yes, and then of course. And you say how much earlier were you sent to boarding school?
Well, I don't remember exactly, but I know my packing had been done. So oddly, I was folding clothes while everyone else was talking to the police. It was also...
Of course. The bottle, the packing, the siblings. Well, Carla, we've done it.
I'm sorry?
You must be satisfied now. Shall I call the authorities? Although with your mother having died, I don't know if anything can happen except...
Miss Fox, I hope you're not calling the authorities based on what I've said.
Of course I am.
I didn't kill Amias.
No. If there was one person, Caroline, who would have tried to shield, it was you. You played tricks on Amias. You spoiled the food before, so when Caroline saw it was you who had brought the beer, it flashed through her mind that you played a trick that went wrong. Miss Williams saw Caroline wiping the bottle, but the poison was found in the glass, not the bottle.
So, my mother mistakenly thought you did it and thought she was saving you?
And Miss Williams mistakenly thought your mother did it and was saving herself?
Yes.
But then
that
who
doesn't
did
tell
it?
us who did it.
It's in the files. Meredith thought she overheard Caroline and Amaya's fighting and heard Amaya say, I'll send her to packing, and planning her packing for boarding school. But if only it went after the murder, sent earlier than planned, then that couldn't have been what was said. Maybe it was, I'll send her to packing. Send Elsa off. Finish it. Forget the painting. A phrase no doubt he had used before this time, Elsa. Being in the house heard it. No one was closer to the beer glass than the subject of the painting. Soon to be disposed for the once the work was done.
It was Elsa? She watched him die while we had lunch?
What do you want me to do next, Carla?
My mother was innocent. I gather by your response that you finally believe me.
Damn, and damn.
Not going well?
What a misery it is to be a sculptor.
It must be. I thought you have models for this sort of thing.
It's an abstract piece I'm doing, darling.
Well, I've got clearing your nose. And our guest will be here soon. And it's nearly dinner time.
Oh dear.
Now what?
It's not one thing to another. Did I leave a mall trap in here? Ah, yes, here it is. The worst of malls is, you never know when they're gonna pop up next. People are quite right when they do say that nature is seldom. What was Lucius on about?
Nothing much, just being interesting. I say it's 6:30.
I know. I'll stop and go get ready for dinner. They're all coming by car, I suppose?
All except Marla. He's coming by bus. Ought to be here by now. Edward and the Crystals are already here getting ready.
You must be joking. You invited John, Christo, and Edward to the same dinner? Oh, Henry, really? Edward hates John. In fact, most times he's on the point of murdering John. Edward!
Hurry up, Henrietta. It's nearly dinner time.
I'll be quick as a flash.
Have you got a drink, Edward?
Thank you, yes. Are you trying to cover up whatever Henrietta was railing at me for?
No, Edward.
Your plan of setting us up will never work if she thinks so low of me. Despite my affection for her, I'm afraid.
Enough, Edward. Lucius and I want you to be happy. We haven't seen much of you ever since we settled down here in the hall.
No, how does it affect you both? Retirement?
So that's when we think, Edward, you're the wisest of the family.
That's an original point of view. I always regard myself as a walking example of how to feel one.
To look after his own estate, care for only books, and not to compete for one's role with material achievement. Well, that's a pretty waistcoat.
One of my perks from the shop.
You can't really like working in the shop, Milo.
Who said I like it?
Then why do it?
What do you suggest I live on? Beautiful thoughts?
But my dear boy, if I had an idea, you were so hard up.
Save your breath, Edward. He's honest. He gives an allowance that won't come in love with us, though we begged him to. I can't think of anything having young Milo living around the house.
Why don't you, Milo?
I have idea. Poor, proud, and prejudiced. That's me. The badger in me, Lucius.
Are they, darling?
Edward doesn't like the idea of him working in that tailor shop.
Well, darling, you did just say the other day how rude the customers are to you.
Only if I'd known.
How should you all know? Your world and mine are so far apart. I'm only half an Ingertail, and the other half's just plain businessman, with unemployment always lurking around the corner.
You made a good point there.
Silent from media. Edward does have that effect sometimes. I'm so sorry if I'm late. Restaurant literally, and I changed into my dress immediately. But you're not at all late, my dear.
You just come down. What do you have, Mrs. Christo? Cider? Ginger ale?
Cider for me, please.
Am I the last?
Henrietta isn't down yet.
I'm here. I do apologize.
Marlo, dear, what a pretty waistcoat.
Yes, charming, isn't it?
If only you knew how I got it.
How can you afford that on your salary, dear?
I got it from the shop.
The shop?
It's one of your perks, didn't you say, Milo?
Perks? You mean to say you get them for nothing? Henry, darling, do you know what this town gets?
What will you have, Christo? Cider? Ginger ale? Cranberry juice?
I love some cider for me.
There's very good fruit punch here, but if you prefer cider.
Yes, wonderful, I know. I love some cider. I remember your fruit punch from last July.
This is very nice.
It will go straight to your head if you're not careful.
Oh, you must forgive me. Not a single, then the most horrible thing has happened. Not a single match in the house, and all my lighters won't work. Oh, what could I do? I had to come back from my only neighbor within miles.
Of course. How awkward for you.
Goodness, why isn't that?
Veronica Cray.
Yes. Where have I seen her?
She's an actress, darling.
Why, sure, John! Why, it's John Cristo. Now, isn't that amazing?
Haven't seen you for years and years.
And years, and suddenly to find you here.
Is John an old friend of yours? How do you know each other?
Why, John's the first man I ever loved. No, thank you.
Miss Cray, why I'm such a fan of yours. I think I saw you last.
Don't make a fool of yourself, Gerda.
Shall I go fetch the matches?
Jolly good idea, Milo.
I do hope you don't think it's just too awful of me butting in like this.
Why, not at all. We are honored, I think. But how rude of us. We haven't introduced ourselves. After all, you don't want to know only one gentleman in the room, do you? My cousin, Milo, Edward Anquetel, Sir Henry, Lucius Anquetel, and...
This is my wife, Veronica.
Yes, quite yes.
Oh, but how lovely to meet you.
How are you liking the area?
I adore it.
You've no idea what a thrill you've caused in the neighborhood, but you must be used to that sort of thing.
Well, I've signed a few autograph books, but what I like about it here is that one isn't in a village, and there's no one to stare or gape. I just appreciate the peacefulness of it all.
Matches for you? That should be enough.
Oh, dear Lucius, I really can't... John! Do you live in this neighborhood, too?
No. I live in London. I'm just down here for the weekend.
We're just down here for the weekend.
John, you must tell me all you've been doing in the years and years since I've seen you.
Dinner is served.
Oh, I mustn't take you away just as dinner is ready.
Won't you stay and dine with us?
Oh, no. I couldn't dream of it. Perhaps John can pop around after dinner. I'm just dying to hear all your news. I'll be expecting you. And thank you all so much.
What a beautiful performance! Shall we go on to dinner? I remember seeing that girl on film. She was wearing a sari, I recall.
I've seen her too, but I can't recall the name of the film.
San Francisco Story. It must be. It was reviewed a few months ago.
Which theater?
She must have changed her hair. She had it flowing.
Gerda, dear, what did you...
She's very nice. Very nice indeed, really. John, are you coming? Oh, heavens, John. Sometimes I could just kill you.
Yes, of course, I'm coming.
My apologies. I hope you haven't been waiting on my account. I had a late evening.
That's quite all right. Sleep was impossible for me as well. I just arrived. Though it appears some of us never went to bed at all.
You're such a poor Henrietta. Why should I sleep in the night when the evening is full of such enjoyment?
No need to throw stones this early in the morning. Let us sit down to a some breakfast.
I dare say, have you seen the Christmas this morning?
Sure they will grace us with their presents eventually. I'm absolutely starving.
I find after Henrietta, yes, she pays no mind. She only cares for John.
Why, Edward, clear your minds of boring thoughts. You and Henry have met for each other. You are the perfect match.
If it weren't for John, she would be mine.
Not only to be so brash. She'll come around, dear boy.
Sometimes, I just wish John was out of the picture.
Come now, Edward. You don't mean that. Surely Henry will show her affections to you sooner or later.
Oh, Veronica, dear, it's an absolute joy to have you here.
Oh, why, thank you. What was it your name was again?
Oh, you must be going senile. I'm Henrietta. John's very close acquaintance.
Why, you battered little kitten. I could never understand why a prudish little insignificant thing such as you would.
And your reputation. It's a wonder why John bothered to give you any time.
You dull little thing. You could never hold a candle to me.
That's rich. We all know who John goes to at the end of the day, and it certainly isn't you.
Why not stay with us until you acquire a more lucrative profession? For instance, John.
I'm quite happy at the tailor shop, Lucius, and not everyone can be as successful as John.
Well, I didn't intend for you to take offense. I simply meant that if your job could accommodate you more, your wealth could travel with you, like John.
What do you mean?
Well, certainly, John always carries more than enough money to travel comfortably on the road.
I have been able to sustain myself and will continue to do so by any means necessary.
I'm terribly sorry to interrupt, but has anyone seen John? Oh my, Gerda. Are you all right? You seem out of sorts.
Well, John did not come to bed last night, and I find myself quite worried.
Don't worry, Gerda. I'm sure he's around here somewhere. Who was the last person to see him?
Pretty sure I saw him and Veronica outside the pool.
Oh, of course they did. Seems like John.
Enough! Marla, would you be a dear and go check outside for him?
Of course.
Oh, gosh, Gerda, I think I'm ripping. Look off your face. It's not like he's dead or anything. I'm sure he'll be perfectly fine. Dead, dead, dead.
Lucius, please.
First weekend party here, and we have a death. And I was busy looking for mole traps, and somebody was trapping humans.
The others will be in after the inquest, and then we will know what happened. But I urge you to please not upset anyone, my dear Lucius. I know you don't mean to, but Henrietta is particularly upset and has taken it upon herself to nurse Miss Crystal through her loss. Not to mention ever being suspect number one. Edward, I was just, well...
No need to apologize, Sir Henry. I'm off the hook. It was an open finding.
John Christo, a man loved by many, and somehow it's an open finding?
Milo, don't. Gerda is resting upstairs. We'll be down here any minute.
That's thoughtful, especially for you, Lucius.
That will be quite enough from everyone. This has been an awful business, and finally have a result from a government-appointed coroner. We should accept it and move on. It's Gerda who has something to actually worry about. Think of the children.
You're right, Henry. There's no need for us to be beastly. After all, John was...
Oh, as if we need lectures in behavior and further talk about John Crystal. We all know how you felt about him, Henrietta.
I will go and speak.
Ah, Grandma's here. The others are back and it's finally over. Finally all over.
Who did it? Who was it?
It was an open finding.
Milo, do you want to go see Sir Henry and Edward? Are you okay, darling? Come over here and pick your feet up.
I can't think why I feel faint.
You need a drink.
Oh no, not for me.
Well, I need one. Lucius?
Oh, no, thank you.
What I would love, perhaps would be making a lot of trouble.
Get the idea of giving trouble out of your head, Gerda. What would you like so much?
I would like a nice cup of hot tea.
Of course. Wonderful idea. I'll go down to the kitchen and get a pot later.
Oh, John, I can't bear it.
Oh, Gerda, dear. Don't cry. It really is all over now. There's just one thing, Gerda. Where did you put the holster?
Holster?
They mentioned it at the inquest. Apart from that, everything's all right. They suspect, but they can't prove anything. Have you still got it? Where is it?
I cut it up in pieces and put it in my craft bag.
In this? Quite a clever idea of yours.
I'm not as stupid as people think. When did you know I shot John?
I've always known. I always knew John loved you more than you or he knew. I am sorry, though, that he wasn't a good man.
Here we are, Gerda. Now maybe I'll have a drink after all.
No,
Are you okay, Gerda? Is the tea all right?
yes. Lucius, won't you take tea
No, Greta, I don't.
You know, I could do with a cup, actually.
But you don't drink tea.
Henrietta, no! That was meant for you. Gerda, oh, Gerda.
Because I knew. Oh, Gerda. That statue I was making, it wasn't her. I called it the worshiper.
It's at the police station. There won't be any need to reopen the inquiry.